Please welcome to the stage our next storyteller, a dad, Mr. Graham Keast.
Thanks, Catherine. Being a dad is fantastic. Who agrees? Well, I'm going to have to turn that around, I guess. Yeah, I've found being a dad is pretty good, but you've got to do things with your kids. You know, you've got to take them places. You've got to take them to the footy, take them to the motor show, you know, that sort of thing. Take them off to fishing, off camping and so on. In fact, I was fortunate when our kids were 8, 10 and 12, and we decided we'd take them overseas, on an overseas trip. In fact, they were 8, 10 and 11. You still paid half fare for the 11-year-old. We took them overseas and had a really good time. And I want to encourage you fathers here that it's not too late to do this with your kids. It's as easy as ABC. Now, the A stands for accommodation. Accommodation is a difficult thing when there's 5 of you wandering around France or Spain. But we found a number of things. We found hostels, youth hostels. They're great. You can go in there. And we also lucked onto an organisation called Service, where you could actually go and stay with people. We could come and stay with you for a couple of sleeps, and the whole lot of us, 5 of us. I mean, the kids had sleeping bags. They could sleep behind the piano or under the couch or something like that. That was all right. So accommodation was a tricky thing. A for accommodation. B, behaviour. Behaviour is a really tricky thing when you're travelling, because you really want your kids to behave. They've got to do the right thing. Doesn't matter whether you're staying with somebody very, very important or whatever. They've got to do the right thing. Now, I can think of a few instances where behaviour was a problem. I remember one of our kids, we were driving along in a motorhome, and suddenly one of the kids said, "Oh, Debbie's not here." What a stupid thing to say, And I said, "Of course she's here. Debbie's not here," they said. Well, we actually had a look and she wasn't there. So we stopped, we went back. The service station only about 10 or 12 k's back, and here was Deb sitting down there waiting for us, so that's not good behaviour. There was another instance whereby we would go to visit people when we're going through Canada, and all their basements were filled with, all the toys were in the basement. And we'd knock on the door, and I remember the 2 girls would help us with our son, and they'd say to him, "Hey, as soon as the person opens the door, you don't go running straight down into the basement and play with the toys." So he had to sort of be straightened out a little bit by them. I don't like to pick on my son Jeremy, but I guess I'm probably prone to do that a little bit. I mean, I remember the time there were donkeys in Scotland, and he got out of the car. Rule number 1, don't get out of the car. He got between the donkey and the little one, the Jill. Not good. So he got kicked and eaten and things like that, but otherwise he was still okay. Another incident with him, he had his 3rd set of thongs in about a week, and his mother said to him, "Don't lose those thongs or your life won't be worth living." Well, the thongs fell in the water, and he went in the water afterwards to get the thongs, and the rip came and it took him out and so on. And 20 minutes later, when he was rescued by the lifesaver and brought in, he came up to his mother and he said, "Mum," he says, I've got the thongs. I've got the thongs." So the behaviour is quite a problem. And C stands for situations. A situation that happened in France. Not a pretty one. And it's mixed in with the accommodation and the behaviour. We're out there eating with this lovely couple, Guy and Josette, and their 2 daughters, and everything is good. We're outside, and it's France. We're eating well. We're drinking even better. It's really good. And Guy is a lovely guy, a sensitive sort of bloke. You can imagine that in France. And everybody's having a wonderful time until one of our children, I won't mention which one, says, "We haven't got anything to drink." So the host is embarrassed straight away. The host got some lemonade and brought it back. And you know how the French, we call our country Australia, they call it Australie. And we have lemonade, and they call it lemonade. They've got to be a little bit different. Well, he brought back this bottle of lemonade, and took the top of it and filled our 3 kids' glasses and his 2 kids. Have you ever seen an 8-year-old drink when he's thirsty? Just picks it up, chug-a-lug. As soon as the liquid hit his throat, "Oh, yuck," he says. "Oh." Couldn't breathe. Straight away, we've got a kid dying on our hands. The wife gets the glass of one of the others and has a bit of a sniff. Guy gets up on his feet. And I think, hey, come on, lemonade can't be that different to lemonade, can it? Get a life. You take these kids and you expect them to behave. Then the host says, "Oh, my goodness me," he says. "What I do is," he said, "I take empty lemonade bottles down to the local farmer and I get them filled with cognac, cooking cognac. But I always put a label on the front that says cognac." Well, I nearly always put a label on the front that says cognac. So I want to tell you, he was an impressionable 8-year-old, and 8-year-olds are very, very impressionable. And I've wondered to this day whether the incidents that happened when he was 8 in knocking over that cognac that quickly has had a bearing on his drinking habits as an adult. I don't know.
Graham Keast. Father, I have to say, one of Sydney's best comics, Jeremy Keast, who has been known to knock back a few drinks over the time. Ladies and gentlemen, I think Graham and his wife are off to Rome tomorrow, so they came all the way here to do the story, and then they're off to Rome. So another round of applause. Thank you to Graham Keast.